Thank you for staying with us. The news this evening begins from the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where the fighting between the rebel coalition led by the M23 and the Congolese army continues unabated. The militias are gaining more and more territory in the South Kivu province and captured the provincial capital of Bukavu on Sunday. According to Reuters news agency, the rebels saw little resistance from government forces against the unprecedented expansion of territory they controlled after years of fighting. One Bukavu resident described the situation to DW as chaos, with looting at markets and stores. On Friday, the militias announced they had taken control of the strategically important Bukavu airport, located 30 kilometers northwest of the city of Kavumu. Independent observers also confirmed the account of the M23s. Meanwhile, in an unfortunate situation, 3 children were executed by the Rwanda-backed M23 after they donned weapons and uniforms abandoned by the Congolese army in the eastern city of Bukavu. The UN Human Rights Office disclosed today, voicing alarm at the incident and other violations since the rebels arrived there. The spokesperson Ravina Shamsani's office has confirmed cases of summary execution of children by M23 after they entered the city of Bukavu last week. She also voiced concern for journalists, human rights defenders, and members of civil society organizations who are seeking protection from reprisals by M23. The M23 fighters moved into the center of Bukavu on Sunday, marking the Tutsi-led group's most significant advance since seizing East DRC's biggest city, Goma, in late January. The capture of Bukavu, a commercial hub, and of the strategic airport that services the city in the nearby town of Kavumu dealt a further blow to Kinshasa's authority. On Monday, DRC's government stopped short of saying Bukavu was fully under M23 control. Congolese and allied Burundian troops withdrew from the city to avoid fighting in densely populated areas, creating a power vacuum that gave rise to looting and a prison break. The well-equipped M23 is the latest in a long line of ethnic Tutsi-led rebel movements to emerge in DRC's volatile east. Rwanda rejects allegations from DRC, the UN and Western powers that it supports the group with arms and troops. It says it is defending itself against a threat from a Hutu militia, which it says is fighting with the Congolese military. DRC rejects Rwanda's complaints and says Rwanda has used its proxy militias to loot its minerals. M23 has now captured more territory than all other rebellions since the end of 2 major wars that ran from 1996 to 2003. These advances have also handed it control of some of the region's vast mineral deposits. Now, the Republic of Niger has implemented strict immigration measures, now requiring Nigerians traveling with ECOWAS passports to possess a valid international passport to enter the country. This move follows Niger's withdrawal from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, a decision made alongside Mali and Burkina Faso. Despite keeping the border open with Nigeria, Nigerian authorities have tightened immigration controls at key border crossings such as Ilela and Koni, Niger. Cross-border traders and travelers are facing major challenges as border officials no longer accept the ECOWAS passport as a valid travel document. In Taiwan, a region in Niger, reports indicate that travelers with only ECOWAS passports are being turned back. Sources reveal that border officials insist on a Nigerian national passport for entry, making it difficult for traders and travelers. While back home in Nigeria, one person has been killed in Ebonyi State, beheaded, and other parts of his body severed in Akparata village in Effium Autonomous Community in Ohaku local government area of Ebonyi State by suspected Eza warriors. The killing of Godwin Order at the back of his compound in Akparata village is coming barely 1 week. The governor of Ebonyi State, Francis Nwifuru, granted amnesty to 158 detainees arrested at the wake of the 4-year-old intra-communal war that broke out in Effium in 2021. The President General of Effium Town Union, Dr. Agina James, who confirmed the killing, said he had notified Governor Francis Nwifuru of the killing. You would recall that the release of the detainees was part of Ebonyi State government's effort to restore peace in the community before the killing of Godwin Order by suspected Eza warriors. Governor Nwifuru also stated during the amnesty that both stakeholders of Effium and Eza Effium had signed an undertaking that will be no longer any relapse into war in Effium community arising from the release of the detainees. While in Ondo State, the Security Network Agency, codenamed Amotekun Corps, has intercepted and returned 114 persons found wandering inside the forest. The suspects were said to have not been able to explain what they were doing inside the forest after they were dropped off by 2 trucks. Ondo Amotekun Commander Akogun Adetunji Adeleye, who spoke in Akure, the state capital, said the suspects dispersed in the forest. According to him, and I quote, "In the last few weeks, we have been engaged in running battles with strangers infiltrating our forests in Ondo State. The governor of Ondo State, Honorable Lucky Orimisan Ayedatiwa, has directed that individuals without legitimate business in the deep forest should be evacuated and sent back. Upon profiling them, it was discovered that all but 3 had no knowledge of where they were being taken. They had no idea. Their masters simply sent them into the forest to await further directives. The governor has therefore ordered their immediate return. Yes, there is freedom of movement in Nigeria, but it must be purposeful." Over 100 young men without any clear purpose or destination were intercepted at various points. What would they become if left unchecked? Criminals. We have been battling kidnappers and armed robbers across the state. We are resolute in ridding Ondo of such elements. If you have no legitimate reason to be in our forest, what exactly are you doing here? Southwest Nigeria, Yoruba land, stands for peace, progress, and all things good, opposite to terrorism, crime, and backwardness. If your region and your leaders tolerate banditry, violence, self-destruction, fake drug and fake product sales, and economic sabotage, stay there. Do not bring chaos to a land that values growth, integrity, and security. And still on the world news at 6, a very recent development, the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is facing mounting pressure to intervene in the escalating leadership crisis within the Lagos State House of Assembly. The conflict began after Mudashiru Obasa was removed as Speaker, with Mojisola Miranda elected as his replacement. Tensions have risen sharply, with security operatives sealing off the Speaker's office and deploying police and task force officers around the Assembly complex. The Assembly had also requested additional security from the Department of State Services ahead of February 18, fearing unrest due to Obasa's planned return. In response to the growing crisis, Babatunde Bank Anthony, an influential APC chieftain, has called on Governor Sanwo-Olu to step in. Speaking via Monitor television program, Bank Anthony stated that the governor, as the leader of Lagos, cannot ignore the situation. He also stated that he cannot ignore what happened yesterday because that is the parliament that he reports to. That is a parliament that makes the law for the state he is governing. The governor should speak up about this issue to the right quarters. End quote. Governor Sanwo-Olu's spokesperson Boyega Akosile had previously clarified that the governor was not involved in Obasa's impeachment. You're currently listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People, 92.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll take more news and we'll head into a news analysis segment. Do kindly stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're still listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. In a very recent development, the United States of Biafra has formally reached out to Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu requesting recognition of Biafra's redeclared independence. This was outlined in an open letter signed by Ngozi Oronweze, the acting head of state and deputy prime minister of USB, shared on X on Monday. According to the letter, the renewed declaration of Biafra's independence took place in Finland during a convention where over 50 million Biafrans participated in a referendum on November 29, 2024. According to her, in line with the United Nations Convention on the Creation of States, consequently, Biafra called on the Nigerian government for a peaceful diplomatic relation for the benefit of both entities. She also disclosed further that the redeclaration of the Republic of Biafra, which took a significant event in Lahti, Finland, on the 29th, proclaimed the restoration of Biafra's 1967 independence and officially adopted its new name, the United States of Biafra. The nation comprises 40 states, according to Ngozi, and Nigeria was invited to the occasion through their invitation letter. Now, let's head into a news analysis segment. And I have right here in the studio actually two individuals who will be responding to different issues on the world news right here with me. I have Mr. Dele Fanimo. Mr. Dele Fanimo is a political, national, and social affairs commentator. He's also a director, and he'll be giving us his insights or his assessment into some of the questions here. I also have my colleague, Choma Innocent, as well. She has a purpose to serve this evening. She needs to give us exactly the fundamental or the foundation and the background story of the conflict in Ebonyi State. She's in the right place to help us respond to that particular question. Mr. Dele Fanimo, let's start off with Ngozi Arabweze of United States of Biafra asking the Nigerian government under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to recognize Biafra as an independent nation and obviously extending a heartfelt welcome invitation to recognize them as a country. How do you see this situation? Is it comical to you? Is it something that can ever be realistic? What is the attainment for that invitation?
Well, it is within their right to want to talk about an independent,
thank you,
country within Nigeria, and we have seen examples across the world where people will say, "I want to be on my own." We've seen how Yugoslavia became Czechs and Yugoslav. We've seen Ethiopia, Eritrea. We've seen many, and some were gotten, for instance, Southern Sudan broke away from Sudan.
Okay.
So, for me, if this is the route to go to make things work, why not? And if there is a consensus.
Okay.
But the only thing I abhor, and I'll continue to abhor, is when you bring violence into agitation.
Okay, but you made reference to Sudan and South Sudan, but you
Yes.
saw the loss of lives that transpired in that process for South Sudan to, extricate itself from Sudan. Up to now, that situation is ongoing. Okay, hold on. The Biafrans will say they've suffered bloodshed. In the 1967 war till 1970, they've gone through the process of humiliation, decapitation, isolation, annihilation, or whatnot, and they have been asking for their independence since they are a region that has not been recognized. When it comes to federal presence, they're least considered. When it comes to infrastructure and in developments that would come from the benefit of the government, they are usually considered the least, and they're asking that they no longer want to be part of the country. So now that they've gone to a foreign land, established a country, I don't know if it's possible to do that, they are extending an invitation letter to the president to recognize them as an independent nation. Will they be recognized as an independent nation outside Nigeria or within Nigeria?
It's not going to work that way. And whatever they have done is laughable, I must tell you. You see, when you want to...
What do you think is laughable? The invitation letter or the request for them to be recognized as an independent nation?
What they are just starting, Dua Republic has started more than 7 years ago.
Okay.
You have to give notice, you have to file papers, documents to... I think it's non-recognized nation. I don't know, forgotten the name. That
can you speak louder?
Professor Akitoye, Banji Akitoye, and Onitiri, and the rest of them subscribed to, and at the point, Odua Republic was recognized by them, and it's just a step towards attaining the Odua Republic. And all along, you will notice that Odua Republic agitators, except when Igboho started his trouble, never, ever tried being violent. And the few times they showed some level of violence, you see, it was the Yoruba people that dealt with them, not an outsider. They went to the government, the state assembly complex on a Saturday where there was no workers, there were no legislative aides, or even legislators.
All right,
And they
but
said they wanted-
in this case, this open letter is basically what you would call a situation where the Biafran government in exile, being established in Finland, is extending a peaceful diplomatic, will I say, letter or invitation to the president of Nigeria for the benefit of both entities. So the question now is, they've written this open letter. Will the government of Nigeria recognize it? That's one. Two, have they been conscripted, to be known internationally as a country on their own? They've been writing, filing letters to be recognized. I think the last time at the United Nations, that was one of the things that Simon Ekpa wanted to do, but he said that the Nigerian government had gone there to debunk and say that that plea should not be listened to. So how are we sure that this open letter will be seen by the president, who is not in support of the extrication of the Biafran government, or the Southeasterners wanting to have a nation of their own, when they see them as part of Nigeria? How is the president going to react to this open letter, or do you think he may not even pay any attention to it?
You see, you can't from here understand and be able to accurately read the mindset of the president on some of these issues. You understand? Even as a sitting president, Obasanjo then dealt with Gani Adams. You understand? Because no president will want a section of the country to secede while he's ruling. And he would rather dialogue with them. And I'm sure that if these people are open to dialogue,
that's basically what it is. She's calling that is basically for a peaceful diplomatic relation, and that's why she's extending the open letter.
But then the question you ask yourself is, which passports are these people holding?
Oh, I think they created a passport design the last time.
Was it recognized? Oh, the Republic had done that many years ago, but it was never recognized. They hosted a flag that was never recognized. Even as close as ECOWAS in the sub-region here, nobody has recognized. And these people that are agitating for Biafra, are always traveling with the green passport, Nigerian passport.
Which is the ECOWAS passport, right?
Yes. When you have things like this, then it negates the principle of saying no.
It negates the principle of saying no.
That I want my country. If you say, okay, some people from this part of the country are still holding sway as ministers, as head of MDAs, as security chief. So everything has to be with in the realm of dialogue, and not forceful secession.
I think they have dialogued in time past. It hasn't turned out to be anything. The last time was with the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, who called them a dot in the nation at the time. That did not work. And now the current plea, however, beyond this recent development, is for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, which the president said that none of them have really come to approach him to say anything significant. Like he's been waiting for an official conversation to be had in that regard. So if this particular letter is now written in peace, like you talked about, no war, no violence, no loss of lives, no shedding of blood, that's why I'm asking that, do you think the president will attend to this when ideally the disposition, it's not like they want that kind of emancipation to take place?
You see, what I'm saying, and I'll continue to say, I've said it over and over in so many fora, is there is a way you can secede without firing a shot. What the agitators in Finland are doing now had been done more than 10 years ago by the Odua agitator, Odua Republic agitators. And you see, the release of Nnamdi Kanu had been so politicized, and there is no consensus among the 5 governors in Southeast.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. She says that the United States of Biafra has come to stay. Their arms are open to receive Nigeria for a constructive dialogue in pursuant
To
of a
receive
peaceful,
Nigeria in Finland.
in a peaceful and sustainable dissolution that aims at achieving a harmonious and safe disintegration with mutual respect for both countries' citizens in territorial sovereignty. So she says we are officially reaching out to establish bilateral relations with the Nigerian government in accordance with the principles of diplomacy.
How can you establish bilateral relationship with a country that is not known?
Well,
To
they
the
have
UN,
declared-
to the UN, to the AU, to the ECOWAS. How do you establish bilateral relationship? And from which country are you going to govern? The first thing is to make sure that you let government listen to you, and then the quickest is to have a referendum where you say this is the way we want to go. And
She's making reference
Sudan-
to the 1961 Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. That's what she's basing her call on.
my sister, let's not go into too much rhetorics about this.
Okay.
How would you expect a president of Nigeria to fly to Finland, another country, to meet with some people who claim to have a country within Finland
Okay.
that is even illegal,
Okay.
and to begin to dialogue with them and be establishing bilateral relations?
Well,
Where is the chancery? Where is the ambassador's lodge in Finland for Biafra? I don't know. Look, let's be realistic about these things. I'm sure somebody who is lettered and knowledgeable will not want to buy all this.
well, let's see if the president is going to recognize this.
He's not
or
going to
react
do
this.
that.
Okay, so if that does not happen, then what happens?
It would have been better if IPOB, that is in Nigeria, that has transformed to be a responsible organization, begins to dialogue with the federal government. Yes, that would be the normal thing. How can somebody go and sit down in Finland with
What are they into? What are they up to? That if these individuals are left unchecked, they could become kidnappers, armed robbers, become invaders of people's farmlands. So they're literally complaining about the fact that they need to return them to their home state since they do not know what they are there for. And that if your region tolerates banditry, killing and all whatnot, the Southwest does not tolerate that. So they will ensure they protect the Southwest and their state. So what they said was that their master simply sent them into the forest to await further directives. What directives?
See, let me tell you, it is balderdash for somebody to say you left your home state, packed your bags, took along with you machete, and you traveled more than 24 hours.
You don't
on
think
the
that they were
road.
hypnotized?
How
If they were
can
somewhere,
you
they told them to
hypnotize
stay in
it?
the forest and wait for further instructions.
No, the fact that somebody, I mean, in your right senses, how could you just allow somebody to put you in a truck and say, we are taking you to somewhere? You won't ask any question, and then they will dump you there, and you continue to live. And who feeds them there? You see, if you investigate properly, you would be surprised to know that those guys were brought for mining purpose.
Okay.
They have not reached their destination, and that's why you have to give kudos to the Amotekun outfit
Okay.
for detecting this. And that is why I told you in some other interventions, I've always said this, that Southwest, we will not tolerate this kind of thing.
So are you
here.
saying those individuals were lying as to the fact that they were
They
unaware
were
of their
lying.
presence?
They were lying.
So who are these masters that were telling them to await further instructions?
That is the question you ask. They have a clear brief before they left where they were coming from.
Would you call this some imposition of a supposed movement to possibly take over persons' lands, take over people's
It may even
religion,
be more
impose their
sinister.
religion on them?
It may be more sinister than what you think. What the beauty of it is, those security men were able to accost them before they could perpetrate any harm. You recall that Makinde, the governor of Oyo State, raised the alarm some few weeks ago.
Yes.
That these people that have been chased from Samvara are now running towards the Southwest. And now, so this is an example of what they are planning to do. They want to settle down and begin to unleash mayhem. And that's why there is this coordination of the Southwest. For instance,
like that.
Lagos State has no business with Amotekun. They don't have Amotekun because there is no forest in Lagos where they can hibernate. But because they know that whatever happens to any of the states in the Southwest will affect Lagos. And the team up, they came for a meeting in Lagos and they fashioned out. And I keep saying one thing. Security issues are not for the media. Except you are playing to the gallery. Anybody that comes to discuss security issues in the media is a charlatan.
All right. So I would say that the fact that your Amotekun Corps have become active in the Southwest state, I think
they've always been active.
But what would you talk about the incessant ritual killings? It's become a prevailing menace, not just in the Southwest, across. I don't understand. There's an increment in killings, beheading, and macheteing. It's a terrible situation. How would you describe that?
You see,
that culture, that immoral culture.
The issue of insecurity, ritual killing has always been here with us. But it is just the fact that we now have tools to disseminate some of this information.
So you're saying that from time immemorial, before we got social media, it has always been a practice.
I can give you an example. As early as the 50s, I think 40s or 50s, there was a traditional ruler that used a baby for ritual. And the police detected, and he was condemned to death and he was hung. So for you to now imagine at that time, a old traditional ruler using a baby for ritual. And unfortunately, some of these people, they are misguided to believe that you have to kill your fellow human being to make money.
It's really bad.
Whereas we have not seen any Elon Musk. We have not seen Warren Buffett.
The recent one is
in
of
Nigeria.
a young man from, I think, Kwara City, Lorry, who macheted a woman that he got through Facebook, kept all her body parts in alcohol with the blood and everything, and they asked, he's actually known as an alpha or something, and they saw 13 pairs of female footwear in his house and a couple of other trinkets, that belong to these females. So it's not like this thing is obviously it's not a first. He's not a first timer.
No,
so when they are tracking and questioning these people, why is a questioner asked? Who is your client? Obviously, people buy from them.
Sure.
So the question is, if you want to uproot this menace that has become a fundamental societal ill, who are the people that patronize these body part merchants?
You see, the first thing you must establish is, if you are not wayward, it's very difficult to be caught in that web.
When you say wayward, regarding
I'll tell you. For instance, even as a man, look at what happened to that guy in Osun State.
Okay.
If that guy was not trusted by his wife and he was not confiding with his wife, a guy would have been declared missing and would never be found. But because every step of the way, right from the day he entered Ile-Ife to the point of the hotel, to the point of the room, he was communicating with the wife. That was why the wife insisted that this was the last point my husband said. He was in this hotel and he came for this purpose.
You're referring to the man who supposedly had been given a death injunction, the owner of the
death sentence, yes.
Death sentence, okay.
So that's why I said I don't mean promiscuity,
okay,
but I'm saying waywardness.
All right.
How could you carry your bag from Lagos and you are going to meet a boyfriend you met on Facebook, you have not seen physically in Oshogbo, and even your mate, even if you are in school, will not even know your whereabouts.
So
but do you know that? Do you know that?
Blaming this young lady, this person who
young persons?
Yes,
young persons. I blame them.
All right, but beyond that, this situation, this immorality has gotten too much. Those who patronize these body part merchants, I don't know what hierarchy in the society they belong to, but I would expect that when security operatives are questioning them, they should track and trace their clients. They should know who those they have big. I mean, we supposedly can assume whom their clients are, and if you're able to get that, publicize it. Possibly, I think that's a way to curb in this crime. If you know you'll be disgraced, you'll probably be taken to court. Possibly there's going to be some execution, because a lot of persons have died because of your order for body parts. For what purpose?
You see, most of these people that are involved in this, they have police top hierarchy as friends.
Are you talking of the big wigs?
Yes.
Supposedly
those
the
who
clients?
buy, yes. You know, and before they engage in some of these things, they take the people that kill for them into confidence by swearing to an oath of secrecy that precludes them from even mentioning names, even at the point of death. So it's a whole mix.
A terrible one.
It's a whole mix.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dele Fanimo. Because of time, I'm so sorry. Do you have more to say?
No.
All right. Choma Innocent, thank you for your patience. Let's go to Ebonyi State. I said you serve a particular purpose here. So Choma Innocent is from Ebonyi State, and a beautiful one at that. Choma, one person was killed, beheaded, and other parts of his body severed. If you have seen the image of that body, I'm sorry to make this kind of gory description. They cut off one of the hand, one of the leg, and cut off the head. Now, this young man was at his backyard. I saw in the picture, this fruit, udara. We call it udara in our language. I don't know, agbalumo in Yoruba. Yes, you could see that this man went to his backyard to pluck agbalumo. Now, if you know the village setting, normally it is in the evening, people go, whatever they get in their farm, they go to the market to sell. Now, as we can describe with this deceased individual, is Godwin Order, or was Godwin Order, because he's late now. He was at the back of his compound in Akbarata village, coming barely 1 week after the governor, Francis Nwufo, granted amnesty to 158 detainees arrested at the wake of the 4-year-old intra-communal war. Why would people who belong to the same state be macheteing themselves in such a brutal manner? And they want to be recognized as one entity. They want to be recognized as a nation. When within yourselves, you have intra-communal war, you purchase arms to go to war with your fellow statesman, your fellow tribesman. How do you now fight off the external factors?
Esther, I've been sitting here, through the analysis segment with Mr. Dele Fanimo and dreading when you ask me this question.
Why are you dreading?
What happened in Ebonyi State it's quite annoying, honestly. There are so many other words I could use to describe it, but it's very annoying. But it's not shocking, right? It's not shocking at all, because whenever you hear news of violence or quarrels in Ebonyi State, it's always between Eza and Effium people.
Can you explain exactly what's the difference between Eza and Effium?
Here is the thing. Ebonyi State has so many dialects that even people in the state, many of them do not understand each other. I'm from Ebonyi State, and the language I speak is so different from what others speak. There are certain intonations, certain words which are the same, but it's very difficult to understand each other. And from my experience, whenever I go to the village, go to the capital, there's a way people talk to you when they realize you are from some places, from certain areas, certain
within
Ebonyi, that you speak certain languages. Now, what is the history of the Iza people and the Effium people? The Izas, they were predominantly warriors, right? They were initially hunters, and of course, they were farmers planting. But the law has it that the land was not really fertile for them. So they focused more on hunting.
Okay.
And then, how this thing happens. Maybe there weren't so many animals in the forest for them anymore. They became mercenaries, the ones you could pay to fight for you when other people were trying to encroach on your land. So they commercialized this warfare. You pay them with land till they come to you. Because I've asked this question to my parents before. Why is it that the Eza people, it seems that they are not only in one location in Ebonyi State? And I'm not just talking about urbanization, whereby people move to the city.
Well,
I'm talking about when you go into the villages. These as they have settlements within villages that speak other languages. That's not Eza, and they are largely accepted.
Okay.
But they were defeated by the British in 1905, according to the research that I carried out. So after that 1905, they realized that, look, we can no longer be warriors. I know there was relative peace.
Supposedly. They needed to find another lifestyle to survive.
And those who were hosting them up until 2021. when there was crisis.
All right.
And now what caused this crisis? I'm going to read this out to you, Esther.
All right.
Now, the crisis began on January 22, 2021, when a disagreement over the leadership of the Effium Motor Park in Ebonyi State sparked a violent confrontation between Ezza and Effium communities. The conflict rapidly spread, engulfing the entire area and resulting in the loss of numerous lives. Eyewitnesses reported that the clash started when a group of Effium youths, allegedly backed by their leaders, attempted to take over the park from the Ezza people who had been managing it. The situation quickly deteriorated, with both sides engaging in fierce fighting, destruction of properties, and displacement of innocent people. My question, and when I look at it, is this: why is it that it's only Ezza Effium? Since Ezzas are in other local governments, they're in other areas, they have other host communities. Why are the Ezzas and Effium always fighting? Former Governor Dave Umahi, who is now the Minister of Works, waded into the situation then, and I'm going to say I'm really not happy with what Governor Francis Winfrey did by releasing those people who were involved in this.
He said he wanted peace.
Yes,
he said he wanted there to be peace.
I watched a particular video, I think it was late last year or early this year, when the women of the communities came together to talk about, our husbands and sons are in the police station, please release them for us. But if your husbands and sons were guilty of killing people, if they were guilty of violent acts, why should they not be prosecuted? Now, I do know that when a lot of people are arrested like that after this kind of situations happen, there will be many of them that were not directly involved. That is where investigation comes in. You find out the masterminds, you find out the people, because the government has been continually trying to broker peace, and now one person's family member is dead. You cut off the head just like that. We cannot have people who have such evil intent working amongst us. That will not be human being again.
How do you even differentiate these people? Because right now they do not even know those who perpetrated this heinous act. A young boy at the back of his home. They severed his body parts like that. This is the person that speaks your own language. This is the person that you share a community with, and you want to be respected, regarded, and seen as one. If you're having intra-communal issues, how do you now represent as one? And you don't expect foreign entities or other sectors that are not part of you or do not recognize you or actually want to submerge you, make you become a minority. How do you want them to regard you?
Esther, it's very easy to sow discord where there is already disagreement. You understand? To an average, there are certain people who believe that, I'm from Ebonyi and everybody is my brother. Meanwhile, there are others, people who live there, who grew up there, who will tell you, if you're from Izzi, you're not my brother. If you're Ivo, you're not my brother. If you're Okposi, you're not my brother.
What could cause this kind of deep-seated hatred? Chuma, do you know what it takes for you to go to your brother and murder him in such a manner?
You know one thing.
Over what? This particular recent situation right now has no beginning, has no middle, has no end. What exactly is the crisis
that they wanted to resurrect?
Exactly, because right now the governor had tried to impose peace and resolve whatever happened. The last fight that occurred, or the last killing that occurred, the governor actually said that it was not Fulani headsmen, that is actually unscrupulous elements. That is a communal clash. That is what he said.
Have you ever heard about Amegun Kaleha being in the news for such issues?
That is what the governor of the state said.
I'm not going to
take that. He declined, he refused to place it on any Fulani headsman. He said it's not there. So
you're blaming the people of the state. When they said that they had written to the state government and to the police, when IPOB people killed the headsmen's cattle because they knew that something like this will happen. Knowing fully well that these people, you don't touch their cattle. They regard it just the way they regard human life.
But you heard what the governor said.
I'm not going to take that.
The governor refused to blame any external factor, but actually blamed it on them.
That sounds like weakness. If you do not want to acknowledge the root of a problem, you will not be able to find solutions to it.
So if a community of people refuse to recognize themselves as one, they feel like they were forced to cohabitate. How do you resolve issues between people who have deep-seated differences, refuse to recognize what you call a common ground, and have peace? And in the same breath, you're having yourself fighting for a declaration to be recognized as your own country.
I'm not from Effium and I'm not from Ezza either, but I think that the Effium people don't want the Ezza people in their land, on their land anymore.
After how many years?
After how many years? You know, I was having a phone call and you listened in on that phone call when the lady said she's Ezza, she's married to an Effium person.
A couple of them have intermarried.
That's the thing. You cannot live together for this long without intermarrying. She said Effium people called Ezza people to come and fight for them when other people tried to fight the people of Effium, right? Then they paid those Ezza people with land. The Ezza people settled there. The people who did this transaction, they become ancestors. They are no longer here. Then their children's children now want to chase the Ezza people out. Where do you want to chase them to after their forefathers have helped you win a war? If Effium people chase Ezza people out, Ivo people chase Ezza, Izzi, Okposi and others, Abakali chase Ezza out, where do you want them to go? Because if they have lived there for up to a century, it has become their ancestral land. The truth is that there will be no peace until whatever boundary dispute, whatever land they're fighting over, let the government just take over it and build police station or military barracks.
That's your recommendation.
That is my recommendation. If it is one piece of land that is causing problem, the government should seize that particular land, create a boundary between the Eza and Effiong community so that we don't keep having this. Women are losing their children.
Exactly.
Women are losing their husbands, their
It is
sons.
really sad. That image was really gory.
People cannot travel to the village.
It's not funny
because
anymore.
you don't know what will happen tomorrow.
It's
If
not
your
funny
son is
anymore.
doing well in the diaspora or in the city and then he comes home and someone who hates you comes and kills him, what are you going to do? It's very, very sad. I'm not happy about it. I hate it whenever anything bad happens, but certainly when it happens in a Ebonyi State. When that one of Amegun Kale happened and I was making calls and we're hearing, it was herdsmen, I wondered, why can the governor not protect his people? Only for him to turn around and start telling us what I consider to be balderdash. But that aside, but for this Effiong and Eza crisis, honestly, I do not want to take sides. I do not want to take sides. But I think that if peace will be brokered.
Yes.
If it is one piece of land that is the problem, government
should take it so that they will stop all the needless killings.
Collect the land.
All right.
There should be a demarcation between the people of Eza. This is where your boundary stops. You cannot pass here. But the truth is that we have intermarried so much. We have known ourselves so much better.
Do you think the governor is
now.
confused? Do you think he's weak? His disposition seems like it. So what firm hand do you think he needs to employ? You can't have this continue in your state. Before you know, it becomes a pattern. And you will seem helpless to actually work on that. A
lot of people consider Ebonyi a backwater state, even amongst the Igbos, right?
Even amongst the Igbos?
Even amongst the Igbos.
You think so?
Yes.
Simon Ekpa is from Ebonyi State. And he has a huge support base.
Please.
I'm just saying.
If you want to
Simon
talk
Ekpa
about
is from, no, I'm just saying Simon Ekpa is from, wait, now he's a celebrity.
People.
He's a huge.
He's not a celebrity.
He's a star.
You don't want
from
me
that
to say
wait
what
now.
I
He's a star from that
feel.
region. So he has a lot of supporters from other southeastern regions outside Ebonyi State. So you cannot say people say Ebonyi State as a backwater state.
Simon Ekpa is not a star to me.
Okay, I'm just saying because of the support base he has.
He is. Esther, well, we'll keep some parts of the conversation off air.
All right.
But he's not a star to me.
All right.
When we want to talk about people from Ebonyi State who are making waves and doing good things, there are certain names we'll call, and Simon Ekpa is definitely
not it.
He will not make number 5,000 on the list. For Governor Francis Nwifuru, I expect him to be much more proactive. You heard him the other day talking about how, they invited the military and even gave them cash and car gifts. What are you talking about? You know, and then I was talking with Mr. Chukwuma Akori and he said you can't categorize that as a bribe. The governor has to do what he has to do. If it's about giving them car and cash gifts, if now Rolls Royce, I beg, help me give them so that the issue can be solved. Permit me to talk to my people in my language. In the bang. Ndewun ekwan buchom innocent guburu onye Eza go na anumam guburu onye Effiong go na anumam ikwe na-eme na Effiong na Eza odunuma sa anyị na-egbu onwe anyị odunuma madu ma onye ibe ma na-eche go jiji mee ihe adụma sa anyị nọdụ buru n'udo n'ihe adụma. That's all.
Hey, this Igbo way you speak, eh?
You shock you, Abi?
Hey.
Well, you cannot leave this
Igbo
place without translating what you're
No, all I did was call for peace. If
exactly,
you're from
that's what
if
she
you're from
did.
Effiong, talk to your people back home and
wrong.
tell them to live in peace, because already certain people feel like though Igbos are marginalized. We'll not come within ourselves and still marginalize
I'm having
ourselves.
this kind of situation.
It's not supposed to be
wrong.
happening at
Very,
all.
very wrong. Chama Innocent, I applaud you. Thank you so much for giving us that in-depth and that insight in the situation in Ebonyi State.
And I'm seeing this
hope
activism for the first time.
Well, that's how we are right here on Voice of the People.
Don't go kill my grandma for me. You're not fish out. I beg you. Please, let's live in peace,
so
okay?
that's basically the analysis segment, is to educate ourselves, provide insights into some of the stories that we read here, so it doesn't seem like we spoke English and we're not able to break it down to the better comprehension of our able learned listeners. Mr. Dele Fanimo, thank you so much for being here on the World News at 6. I sincerely do appreciate you. Choma, as usual, we're working together tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, let's wrap up the World News at 6. Once again, here are the top stories. Pressure mounts on Rwanda's M23 sees Bukavu. United Nations discloses children executed by M23 in DR Congo's Bukavu. Niger rejects ECOWAS passport for Nigerian travelers, tightens immigration rules. One killed, beheaded by suspected warriors in Ebonyi State. Amoteku arrests 114 northern invaders in Ondo, sends them back to north. Sanwo-Olu under pressure to intervene as Lagos House of Assembly crisis escalates. That's a wrap on the World News at 6. My My name is Esther Wachiku. Do have yourself an amazing evening. Bye for now.